Welcome to the American Roadrunner Podcast. Glad you could join us for this episode. I am your host, Bob Marshall. Here we share stories from the road, all tales from our two-wheeled motorcycle machines. Whether you're a beginner or advanced rider, on-road or off-road, wrencher, racer, commuter, or just a weekend warrior, this is the podcast for you. Named after the book, American Roadrunner. Enjoy, my fellows. In case you haven't noticed, some of us have been on vacation and some of us are still on vacation. Hence why we haven't put a podcast up in a while. We've been out enjoying the good weather of the country. Today, we're pretty darn excited on this episode. If you remember the last episode, I spoke about one Orygun Run I got to race up to. So today we are fortunate enough to have Adam, one of the creators and the man behind the Orygun Run, on a nice phone interview, and we're going to hear all about it. Adam, how the hell are you, brother?
I'm doing great, Bob. How are you tonight?
Oh, I got to tell you, it's been a little warm lately, and boy, I just got back into town. I've been running all over the place. Gosh, I've probably done a good 10,000 miles since I saw you up in Oregon. So
yeah, you got another 1K challenge in, didn't you?
Oh, I sure did. Yeah, that was really exciting. I'm gonna be talking more about that in the next podcast. So for all the listeners out there, please know a 1K record has been claimed, but we'll hear about that soon enough in the next podcast. Today, let's talk about Oregon and the Orygun Run. You happen to be the mastermind. This was Orygun 4 that you just had, right?
Yeah, this was year number 4.
Nice. Well, let's start at the beginning. How'd you come up with this super cool Gypsy style route?
Oh, it was just years of pondering and thinking and reading magazines and reading about other events. And I moved to Portland about 8 years ago, and it took me a while to find some people to ride with, people who liked motorcycles to hang out with. And the easiest way to meet people was going to different events, and the type of events I wanted to go to were a little bit limited. There weren't a ton of them around at the time. And so I started thinking over a few years, once I started having people to ride with, that I started thinking how it would be nice to kind of give something back to the community that had welcomed me, and by putting on an event. And then my daughter was born, and it kind of kicked a little motivation into my butt. And so I decided to just give it a shot. I knew some people at that point and figured I could put together a little raffle. And I just knew that if I was going to do an event, I wanted it centered around actually riding motorcycles, because the people I'd always bonded with the most and spent the most time with, like after meeting them at an event, were the people that I shared miles with. So I kind of modeled the idea after El Diablo, or the Gypsy run that was on the East Coast. The idea that we would change campsites every location and spend the whole day on the road.
Well, and that was a real exciting part for me. I mean, I raced 1,000 miles against Charlie, which everyone already knows I lost if you haven't read the article in Chop Cult or Cyclosource magazine or online, or man, I think Russ Brown's even releasing an article about it. But regardless, the man kicked my butt, which you all heard about in the last podcast. But it was great to, in somewhere, dinner's taken care of, set up camp, hang out, get some sleep, wake up the next morning, pack it all up, and ride a few hundred miles to the next campsite. And that went on, Friday night, Saturday night? Oh, no, was it Saturday?
Yeah, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Yep.
That's right. Well, certainly my idea of a really freaking good time.
Yeah, mine too.
And we couldn't have asked for better weather. I don't think we got we didn't get any rain. Everything was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, we really lucked out too, doing it a little early this year in June instead of July, and heading to the Oregon coast. We knew we were rolling the dice on the weather, and honestly, coming up to it, I was expecting a pretty soggy run of it. But yeah, we lucked out. Just beautiful sunshine all the way through.
Well, it is pretty exciting how many people you have behind, what you're doing. I mean, all the volunteers, and you limit it to only 150 tickets, right?
Yep, 150 riders.
And that's great. Then you have, how many volunteers do you have working behind you?
So we had 6 staff, core staff, leading all the way up to the run. The weekend of the run, we had 2 more staff positions supporting the lead vehicle and a gentleman driving chase truck for my staff and my volunteers in case any of them broke down, so we could get them to camp for their shifts. Right. And then we employed another 12 actual volunteers on the run helping us out at campsites.
Well, it was pretty exciting because everywhere you went, everything was taken care of. The route was already there. Now, it started in Coos Bay, which is in southwest Oregon, right?
Yeah, well, technically it started in Portland.
Oh, okay, right.
So, yeah, because you did the 1K in a day challenge, everybody who did, and this year we had 7 people attempt and complete the Ride 1K in a Day challenge to the first campsite. Man. So their first night was in Coos Bay, but the rest of us met up in the morning in Portland at the Jupiter Hotel for registration. One of our sponsors this year donated that space to us and let us park all of our bikes in both their driveway, parking lot, and even in the little they have like a garden atrium area where we were doing registration, and they let us have people pull their bikes in and line them up there as well. And we just flooded that place with motorcycles. It was pretty awesome.
Well, sorry I missed it, but it was very nice to be one of the 7 who did the Ride 1K in a Day, as passed down from one Mr. Curtis Morgan self-challenge. I know, the first night we were all up on stage. That was pretty exciting. Yep. My favorite was still the white elephant gifting he did. He put a bunch of swag and souvenirs and whatnot in bags, and then we all got to exchange bags and then trade bags, and you could steal stuff from the next guy, and other people stole stuff from me. And well, my bag, I could feel, I think one of my books was in it. I could feel it in the bag. You weren't supposed to look in the bag. And then another guy came up with, he had a sweater. And I didn't bring a sweater. I just had my jacket and my suit. Anyway, so I just said, wow, you know what? I might need that or I'm going to freeze tonight. So let me steal that, and here you can have this. Of course, he opened the bag. He's like, oh, I got your book. Could you sign this for me? Oh, it was great, man.
Yeah, and Curtis is also the official photographer of the Orygun Run and has been since basically the beginning of it.
Well, we always forget about that Curtis is a photographer first and foremost. What's his IG handle for that?
Ramble On Photography.
Ramble On Photo.
Yeah.
That's right. Man, he does some really good work.
Yeah, he does.
I know. I think it was the second day, him and I went out for a ride, and he can actually ride, and he'll set the bike on cruise control, and I'd look over, and he'd have both hands on the camera taking pictures of me. Yeah. I thought, well, that's really cool.
Yeah, on the first year, we were on the last day, we were near Crater Lake, and so we'd stopped for lunch, and then we're heading up to Crater Lake, and he was in a truck that year with a friend who had a broken leg and couldn't ride, but he could drive a little bit, and so Curtis asked him to take the wheel, and he jumped on the back of my bike so he could take photos from the road on our way up to Crater Lake. And
nice.
Man, I just remember he's standing on the rear sets, twisting every which direction, adjusting his angle, shooting, and that was crazy. And then the first time we rode in a group that he was actually shooting photographs, I remember, the same thing. You look up and he's in front of you, but he's turned around completely on his bike, 2 hands on the camera, just clicking away.
What a talented individual that friend Curtis of ours
he
is. Well, and he just moved to New York, so if anyone happens to be in New York and needs some good photos, he would be the one.
Absolutely.
Well, I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the Gypsy style. The first night was in Coos Bay. The second night was in, what was it called? Yanitz?
Yeah, second night we went up to Yahats.
Yahats. I don't think anybody said that correctly. I mean, I think everybody said it wrong. All I remember is that there was no damn gas station in the town. So I had to... Yeah, for some reason, I was riding with Charlie and his lovely wife Kayla at that point, and we all needed gas, and there was no damn gas station. So we all ended up going, I think, 20 miles north to the next town and finding gas up there. Wonderful. I think that was where they had that sauna house and, what do you call that? That hot house.
Yeah, wood-fired dry sauna. Yeah.
That was great, because then everybody would jump out and go running across the lawn and jump into the pond. Yeah. You said it was a natural pond, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that pond is spring fed, and then the owner was telling me they also route a pipe from a stream that runs a little bit above his property.
Wow, just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm explaining all this. Down here in Southern California, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting over. We just don't have that kind of water, hanging around. So it was terribly exciting to be part of it. More exciting to watch certain amounts of people run naked across the yard to jump into the cool pool after being in that hot house. So the third night, we went even more north.
Yeah, so
Where was that at?
third night put us just outside Portland by about half an hour in a little town called Malino.
Malino, that's right. It was great to see all the Christmas trees they have around there.
Yeah.
Just a great ride between here and there. Well, I give you just a ton of credit. Obviously, I think the answer is, you always show up to different events and you never know exactly how the event will be. It's nice to see all the great motorcycles. I really enjoyed just the stream of different motorcycles that you guys had. And the stream of different people as well. I mean, there were so many different people.
Yeah.
From all walks of life. But everybody was way cool. There wasn't any real showboating. Everybody was just there to ride and camp.
Yeah, and
relax.
It's always been a real point of pride for us, the variety of styles of motorcycles and riders that we get on the run every year. Right. When I moved to Oregon, I came from the Midwest. I had a big Harley Softail Springer, which I still have. And I used to get poked fun of for having a Harley, which was the exact opposite of being in the Midwest. You got poked fun of for not having a Harley. Sure. Yeah, I got here, and it's, roads don't necessarily go very straight here, and you can hit a lot of logging trails or gravel roads if you're not careful. And so, having a big cruiser was definitely not the norm at the time, and it's become more popular since I've been here. But I recognized that the first year that this was not going to be wasn't going to be a chopper run, it wasn't going to be a Harley run. If it was going to work, it had to just be a motorcycle run. And so we marketed that way from the beginning. Our motto is, we don't care who you are and we don't care what you ride. As long as you're down to put down the miles and have a good time at the end of the day, then you're our people. And it's great because we have everything sport bikes and sport tourers, ADV bikes. They certainly had a lot of extra fun on the coast this year with, some nice logging roads and stuff. And we just get every single type. Big baggers, little choppers. If you can think of it, it's there.
Oh, and it was wonderful to see how everybody would use different methods to, pack up their camping gear and pack up their cutlery. Oh, I know that was a big thing too. You had to bring your own cutlery, your own dinner plate, knife, fork, spoon, whatever, which I did not have. I ended up using Kayla's. Yeah, Kayla would eat and then hand me hers, and then I'd eat. I worked pretty well, actually. But boy, that was a real good idea, just to keep.
Yeah, we noticed after the first two, the amount of trash we would generate just off of paper plates and plastic cutlery was just bags and bags of it. And so going into year 3, we decided to limit that as much as possible. So started asking everybody to bring a mess kit, and which I also forgot this year in all the preparation and packing. I went up to dinner night 1 and was like, oh, that's because I always forget something, and that's what it was this year. So,
well, I think it's a great idea, and I'm just going to start carrying a mess kit with me everywhere I go. I'll pack it in with my clothes. I mean, I don't need to eat much anyways, obviously, with my shape of such, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to producing less waste in that regard in the future when it comes to super cool motorcycle events and gypsy runs like you had. Let's do this. Why don't you give a good shout out to all the good people who are staffing and helping you work out? Because I got to tell you, they were all awesome. And I just can't say enough good things about everybody. So hit it.
So this year, so up until this year, it has basically been my wife Jess and I running the whole show.
She was so wonderful. Can we just stop there? We really should be talking to Jess, not Adam, because that woman was so freaking awesome. She was on everything. Anytime you needed something, I mean, she just worked so darn hard.
Yeah, she is fantastic. This run would not be, I don't even know if it would be possible without her at this point. So,
amen.
So she handles all of our marketing, anything you see, websites, Instagram, Facebook. So you can find those at Orygun Run on Instagram, Orygun Run on Facebook, OrygunRun.com online. So she curates all that, takes care of all of our marketing, our messaging, and then on top of that, she heads up coordination with people who have bought tickets leading up to the run. So people who
Right.
maybe are looking for a ticket after we sell out, or someone who bought a ticket and last minute can't go. She handles that coordination and makes sure our list is set up nice and tight for registration. We have everybody's information, food allergies, any medical alerts we need, anything we could possibly need to know about them on the road in case of an emergency. She has covered. And then, she just heads up the lead vehicle, and so she's kind of command central during the whole thing. She runs registration. She was doing merch sales this year. Yeah, she's all over the place, and she's fantastic.
She's all over the place. Yeah, just rocking. If we can step back for a minute, how fast did your tickets sell out for this year's?
This year we set a new record when we sold out in 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular event, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, who else you got helping you out there?
Again, leading up to this year, we had a couple of friends, Corey Fox, who just goes by Fox, and our friend Adam Smith, and they were always there leading up to the run in the months leading up, on the run, stepping in where they could to help out. So when we knew we were starting with an official, actual staff and bringing them into the fold, we knew those two for sure were coming aboard. And Adam handled all the route planning, so all the routes and sites that were mentioned in the lead-up emails on the website, that was all Adam. He earned himself a new nickname the last week leading up to the run this year. His new nickname is Crunch Time, because he's just that guy. Anytime you need something last minute, you're like, Adam, what about this? And he's like, I got you. And 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, he's got a solution.
Nice.
And then he was heading up the morning crew on the run itself as well. And then Fox we brought in for some logistics and operations. So when we toured the sites ahead of time, he was plotting out where everything needed to be set up, and so everything could flow properly, and where we had access to water, where we had access to power, making sure our loads were all strapped down proper before we left camp, so nothing was moving around in the back of the trucks. And and then where we needed him, also input on routes. He's grown up here, like Adam, and knows every road. So, and then we brought on our friend Seth Paddock. He was running our night shift to this year on the run. Leading up to it, he was really helping me with sponsors and raffle donations, and he'll be taking that over fully next year as I make introductions and hand it off. And then finally for staff, we had Stuart Young, who was actually our chase truck driver last year. Got back from doing the run, chase truck driving, and we had a lot of breakdowns last year, and he worked real hard. And we always say he should have walked away from that cursing our names, never to be seen or heard from again.
Right.
And instead he went out, took the motorcycle safety course, bought himself a motorcycle, jumped right on board as staff. And unfortunately, he didn't get to make his first run on a bike because a few days beforehand he had a big old truck cut him off, and he had to lay it down to not get run over. And so we didn't see him until the last night in Milano, where he came out to say hi. And as sore as he was more heartbroken than anything, I think. So
that's a real trooper, though.
Yeah, and he's headed up bones of the new event we're working on, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But he really just has been running with that for us while all the rest of us were concentrating on getting the run this year going. So yeah, and then like I mentioned, then when we actually got to the weekend of the run, our friend Katya was in the lead truck with Jess, helping with registration at camp, negotiating roads, driving, so Jess could have access to her phone and the internet. So
I remember her. She sought me out. She's an amateur writer, as a lot of people are, as I was, or maybe I still am, who knows. But anyway, I ended up hanging out after the run. I was hanging out in Portland for a few days with my cousin. And I went to Cece's, and she ended up being there. I guess she lives right around the corner. Mm-hmm. So that was great, man. Her and I had some great conversations. And I'm mentioning it because there's a lot of people who like to write. And even if you're not writing in the style of, adventure nonfiction like I'm doing, it's okay to share in writing. It's no different than playing music or riding motorcycles. It's all really good stuff. So it was real exciting to meet her and chat writing techniques. That's why I mentioned that. Yeah, she's a good one. She's working hard.
And on the run, she kind of became the unofficial camp nurse. She had a bunch of some first aid and some homeopathic remedies. She had that amazing balm she made, that CBD balm, and she was burns, cuts, sore backs, sore bums. Like, it just was taking care of everything. I swear, every morning someone would wake up with something sore and be like, "Have you seen Katya? Does she have that balm?" Be like, "Oh yeah, over there."
Right.
So, and then
that's great.
Yeah, and then for our support vehicle, we had our good friend Joey Sturts. He lent us his big old Cummins diesel pickup truck and hauled a trailer and was there to help.
Yeah, that dude was awesome.
Yeah, there to help pick up bikes when he needed to, and which was luckily not a lot this year. And we had gotten rid of the official chase truck this year, but we knew we needed something to get staff and volunteers to site to work in case they had, their bikes malfunction or break down. So. And he was just a whole lot of fun at camp. He was just a whole ball of joy and unbridled energy and enthusiasm for the whole event.
Oh, yeah. The dude's like 6'6". I mean, he's taller than me, which is pretty rare.
Giant.
So he's a giant. It was great to hang out with him. And I know the one time Charlie broke down, believe it or not, Charlie breaks down after we're racing. We're on the side of the road. Yeah, he came up like, well, everybody kind of passes. I just had to wave everybody on. Charlie just had to replace the switch right quick. It was good to know he was available.
Yeah.
Although, I think only one or two people kind of needed him, really. So
yeah,
it did pretty good.
That's a good point, though, you bring up, Bob. When you're on the side of the road and someone comes, you can tell someone's slowing down, looking to pull over. These days.
Oh, man.
I know I always slow down. I always want to stop, cell phones or not these days. If I can help,
Amen.
if I have a tool, whatever, or even if I can just keep them company for a little bit while they wait for a chase truck. But yeah, it is always nice to get the thumbs up and the wave on when they don't need you.
Yeah, we'll definitely use that as this episode's tech corner, even though it's not very techy. I preach it all the time, and I wish more people would. And the answer is, if you're on the side of the road and a motorcyclist passes you, they're going to try to stop, and you have to either give them a thumbs up and a wave, hey, I'm okay, life is good, or feel free to just wave your hand and wave them over. If you need them, whether it be a tool or whatever. I know why Charlie was sitting on the ground looking for the switch in his bag. It's just his on-off switch, and he figured it was going bad. So, anyways, I was just sitting on the side of the road just giving everybody a good thumbs up, and that was probably the most help out of everything. So, it's okay. I've had to do it a lot where I'm wrenching next to the motorcycle and I'm just sitting there throwing my thumb up in the air anytime I hear a bike go by. I agree, because sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere. Cell phones don't work. Maybe your cell phone doesn't work. Maybe you're, whatever it may be. We're all part of the same team. That is the end of Bob's Tech Corner for this episode.
So yeah, that rounds out our staff for this year. And again, we had 12 volunteers that worked a couple of shifts, throughout the weekend, whether it be nighttime or morning time, helping us make sure food was stocked up, water was stocked up, beer was stocked up, cleaning up, helping us unload and load trucks,
Yeah, I think you just had the two trucks, right? You had that big U-Haul looking thing, and then a van or something. Oh, and then a chase truck.
Yeah, so we had the chase truck, and then we had a box truck this year, which was a game changer for us. Everything fitting in one vehicle, easy to drive, a hydraulic lift gate to save our legs a little bit towards the end of the weekend when we're all running on fumes. But yeah,
that's great.
It's a lot of logistics. Obviously, changing campsites every single night, trying to provide as much as we can. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, you're just above and beyond, and I think that's why I was so excited about it.
Yeah, so when people roll into camp, the rule is beer's got to be cold. Nobody wants to put down their kickstand and have to wait for beer or drink a warm one after riding all day, if they're so inclined.
Well, and you had your own beer this year, didn't you?
We did. So we are sponsored by 10 Barrel Brewing out of Bend, Oregon. They have locations, I think California, a couple in Oregon, Idaho even. But yeah, they came on board last year, and this year they wanted to brew us a beer specifically for the event. So we got to go down a couple of months, about 3 months before the event. And anybody who held a ticket at that point was invited, and we had about 20 people show up, and they got to decide flavor profile. They got to name the beer.
Nice.
Yeah, they got a tour of the facilities. They were drinking beer the whole time. So Yeah, it was a really great event,
Right.
and it was really a successful beer this year too. I was talking to Bobby Jackson, who's the head innovative brewer there, and our point of contact. We got an email from him last year while we were trying to sort out beer sponsorship, basically saying, I've been trying to get a ticket to this for 2 years, and I haven't been able to. If you're looking for beer sponsorship,
Right.
I'm in. I'm going to buy my way into a ticket if I have to. And we just happen to be.
That's great.
And Bobby's a great guy. He rides a beautiful old shovel head, and he's just a fun, easygoing, guy, and immediately fit with us, and he's become family very quickly. And him and his dad now do the run every year.
That's killer.
Yeah, and we were just catching up on the last day, and talking about the rides we went on and stuff, and we were by the beer coolers, and we were watching people. At that point, a lot of people were generous and stopped and bought cases of beer to add to the pot for the last night. So you had all sorts of brands floating around in there that were, familiar favorites to most people. We were watching 2, then 3 people come up and bob underneath all the familiar beers, feeling for the sticker label on the custom beer, and they're, I found one. And Bobby's like, well, I think we can say the beer was a hit. And I was like, honestly, Bobby, I think we might need more beer for next year. He's like, I think you might be right.
Right.
So,
I think a lot of people most people went to bed on time, so by the morning time, everybody was pretty sober again. There was
yeah. But yeah, so we want cold beer when people land. We provide dinner. This is Oregon. Weed is recreationally legal here, so we provide joints as well, and then some coffee and light breakfast in the morning, along with the campsite. So the idea being, when you're on the road all day, we want people. We usually give them a good 5 or 6 hour long route to ride. We expect them to take 8 to 10 hours to do it, stop, see some things, etc., get gas, whatever. After a long day, the last thing you want to do is try to figure out where dinner's going to be or find a store to stop at and buy beer. And so we just wanted to, from the beginning, include all of that and make it as easy on them as possible once they got to camp. So
good for you. Well, on to the next one. Let's hear about it. Run to the Rock.
Yeah, so about the time this podcast comes out, we'll be about exactly a month out from our new event, Run to the Rock. It's going to be in Lapine, Oregon. This one is going to be a one-location camp out, and it's going to be
mixing it up.
Yep.
Good for
2
you.
2 nights, 3 days. Got a beautiful campsite. We're going to try to just maintain the vibe of the Oregon Run and put our own spin on a one-location camp out. So there'll be plenty of beautiful routes that we have planned out ahead of time that people have access to maps of and stuff.
Cool.
And obviously, because we try to keep riding at the forefront of everything we do. Yeah, we're going to be having 10 Barrel will be there handing out beers for free until they run out again.
Cool.
And
cool.
We'll have a couple food trucks on site so people don't have to be riding into town to eat, make it easy. And then for the first time, we're including vendors in an actual event. So on the Oregon Run, we're very upfront with our sponsors and raffle donors ahead of time that we don't put up signage. We don't put up big banners. There are no vendor booths. We want it to feel like, a Gypsy style camp out. A lot of lip service, a lot of Instagram ahead of time, but nothing on the actual run. This one's going to be a lot.
Okay.
This one's going to be different that way. But we're being really careful about vendors. We want well-made, handmade goods, things with a long heritage, so it's more interactive stuff. So we've lined up like a tintype photographer. So he's going to be doing, wet exposure tintypes so people can get a photograph of them in their bike.
Right.
Yeah, that old 1800s black and white style. And
sepia. It's called sepia tone.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of useless information, these days. But yeah, sepia tone. That's from my old photograph days. I actually worked as a photographer through high school, doing old-time photos up in the local community of Big Bear here. But anyway, sepia tone. No, it's classic, man. Absolutely classic. Who else you got showing up for vendors?
Right now I'm talking to a friend of mine who is an amazing pinstriper. I'm hoping to have him on board.
Perfect.
Being there available to pinstripe helmets and tanks on the spot. And then the rest of our vendors, real nice, like handmade artisan stuff. We've booked Howl Attire. She makes these gorgeous riding vests, custom made to you. You choose the wax canvas outer, you choose the Pendleton material, wool inner. and then she makes it directly to your size.
Nice.
Things like that. So
wow.
Trying to make it a little more interactive.
So,
and then Jupiter Hotel is coming and setting up an outdoor living room for us. So we're going to have like
nice.
recliners and sofas and side tables.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
So
that'll be way relaxing.
if you don't want to be
yeah, this might be the time where I ask. Maybe I can donate a few books to say
that'd be absolutely
raffle prizes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try to do a little
Okay.
raffle, which will be great. It's always fun. You know,
Good.
it's a month out. Tickets are selling, but we're not done planning yet. We're trying to pull every last trick out of our sleeves that we can.
Well, I can imagine. Number 2 of the events you're doing, you're gonna try to start doing many more events up there in Oregon then in the near future?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way this is headed.
Good.
When we launched the Orygun Run the first year, we booked the campsites. The second campsite limited us to 60 people total, and I thought, we could probably find 60 people to do this with us. And we launched at the one show here in Portland, the big motorcycle show that happens in February.
Oh, sure.
And
yeah.
February, early February, and by the end of February, early March, we had sold out, and I was blown away. And so we started hunting a bigger campsite, and we found one, and then the sky was the limit. And so we decided, okay, 85 people feels manageable, we think, having no idea.
Right.
So we were able to put 25 more tickets on sale, and they sold out in just under 2 minutes. And so
that's great.
I think at that point, that was when you kind of realize, like, oh, okay, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe the need for this is greater than we had any idea, or maybe even people knew they needed it, until it was presented to them, and they were like, oh, this is what I've been missing. Right. So, and then the next year we grew it to 125, and then the next year 150, and we're going to stay there. 150 is just the right number.
So if I want a ticket this year, I better follow it on the gram and get the date just right and make sure I order it on time.
Yeah, we always put tickets on sale at 10 a.m. on a Sunday.
Well, I'll definitely be watching out for that. Boy, it's kind of madness, Adam. I mean, what you're doing is really kind of madness. So I reckon it all had to start somewhere.
Yeah. So I, like a lot of people, I got into motorcycling because of my dad.
Nice. It's always the dads. Hail to the dads, man. Dads are awesome.
But
I know mine got me involved. It's all his fault as well. So
yeah, but unlike most people who tell the story that way, mine was completely different. My dad actually never talked about motorcycles. Was never into motorcycles. No classic cars. Wasn't mechanically inclined. And it wasn't until I was in college. He was, it was around the time, I know exactly when. It was around the time the first season of American Choppers came out on Discovery Channel. Great. And my dad just honed in on it. And at first I thought it was because of the fighting between Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. because we had a tumultuous relationship that we were just starting to work on and fix. And so I thought that was like maybe some level of familiarity. But then one night, I mean, he was obsessed. Like the show would come out on like whatever night it came on, and then they'd run the rerun the next night, and he would tune in and watch it. And then like 2 nights after that, it would be on again, and he'd come across it and he'd watch it again. And like 3-4 times in a week before the next one would come out. And one night he was home alone with my mom, and she was doing work on her computer, and he was watching the show, and at a commercial break he just randomly made the comment, I've always wanted to do that. And my mom stopped typing and looked up and went, "You've always wanted to build a motorcycle?" And he was like, "No, I've always wanted to ride a motorcycle. Ever since I was like 5 years old, I wanted a Harley Davidson." And my mom was like, we had just celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary. My mom goes, "Really? Like you've never said anything?" He's like, "Oh, I thought, it would be you would say it's dangerous or it's dumb or grow up, whatever." And she's like, "No, man, you're a grown ass man. If you want to ride a motorcycle, ride a fucking motorcycle. Like, that's fine."
Amen.
So,
Amen.
And so we signed him up signed him up for the motorcycle safety course in Illinois. And leading up to it, my mom got all nervous because she was reading the curriculum and saw that it was, in Illinois, it was Thursday night, Friday night, then all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And She was like, I kind of feel like this is saying, like, Happy Father's Day, go spend 4 days by yourself. And I'd always had an interest in mechanical things and no outlet for it. I, had a friend teach me how to drive stick shift because it seemed like an important thing to know how to do. So I volunteered. I volunteered. Like, I was like, I'll go with him. And my mom was like, really? And she's like, you want to ride motorcycles? I was like, no, I don't know if I have any interest in motorcycles, but it's something with an engine. It's a different way of shifting. It can't hurt to know how to ride one. And in Illinois, the safety course is only $20. So my mom, okay. So my mom signed the two of us up for the last class in October. Was like the only one that had any spots left. And so,
I can imagine.
like the last one of the whole riding season. And we got closer to the date, and he had a really important work trip that took him out of town that weekend. And so, in the meantime, over the winter, our local Harley dealership started the Rider's Edge program, so you could go to the dealership and learn to ride with the same instructors as the safety course. So we signed up for that one because we could get in on the very first class of the next season. And so we spent 4 days, a long weekend together, learning how to ride motorcycles, and man, were we hooked.
And you didn't kill each other at all.
We were hooked. So we bought a...
Oh, man. That's great.
So right after the class was done, he bought a Sportster 1200 Custom, and we would literally race each other home. We worked on opposite ends of town, about equal distance from the house, and we get off work at the same time. And we would race across town to beat the other one home, because the first one to get a leg over the bike got the first ride. And the first ride usually didn't end until about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so the other one just had to wait up, and wait up we would. If it was my turn, I would wait up, and I'd still go out for a couple of hours, and same with him. So,
oh my gosh.
About a month after that, we went to a demo day, and he fell in love with a Road King, and we were supposed to trade the Sportster in on the Road King. And I came home from work the day the Road King was being delivered, and opened the garage, and my parents were both standing there, and the Road King was there, and the Sportster was sitting next to it. And I, like an idiot, I got out of the car and was like, wait, why didn't they take the Sportster? And my dad was like, well, your mom and I looked at the numbers, and the difference in the payment, like the little bit of difference in payment didn't seem to justify having to race you home every day to ride the bike. So from that day forward, we'd race home to be home as fast as possible, and then we'd get on the bikes together, and we would take off. And that was
together
pretty much every freaking night for an entire summer, and then on from there. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I know myself, riding with my pops, we could ride all day and only have to talk to each other for 20, 30 minutes, at the gas stops and whatnot. And it was great just to spend that time and not have enough time to argue about anything, whatever it may be. So it was pretty quality dad-son time.
I'd been going through a lot personally in and out of college. I'd been diagnosed with depression that I'd been fighting. I'd gone through an outpatient program because it had gotten really bad. And, my dad and I had started working on our relationship through that. But then once the motorcycles were introduced, and we had this thing to do together, and this one thing that we really loved, but it finally gave us something in common and a touchstone to talk about that made conversation and stuff easier. And having that full support from my father, working through those hard times, and feeling open to be able to talk to him about it all. Like, I always knew I had his support, always growing up, no matter how much we weren't getting along. I'd get a speeding ticket, I'd go home, be like, damn it, I'd get yelled at for like half an hour, and then be like, okay, this is how we're going to fix it. First thing in the morning, I'll call the lawyer, you're going to have to pay for it, but blah, 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 and he would get me through it. And so I always knew he had my back, but mental illness was a little different, and at first it's a lot harder to talk about, so just having these rides and just having something to talk about all the time made, those conversations so much easier. And I actually have, a tattoo now on my inner left wrist. It's a bar and shield, but in the bar and shield it says "Saved by Motorcycles."
Perfect.
Because it really turned the tide. And shortly after that, I met, around that time, I was dating Jess, and really was able to turn the tide on that. And, eventually, and we ended up with a great relationship and getting married, and now we have a kid, and and the run and the
Yeah.
new run, and so yeah, and it really all it was like a really huge turning point personally for me in my life, going from a downhill track to an uphill track. Was riding motorcycles as therapy, and motorcycles for giving me my father back, basically. So yeah.
Well, and that's wonderful, and you bring up some great points about that. There's a lot of things families do together, and families don't do together. I know for me, I'm a big land speed racer, and we haven't been land speed racing this year locally because El Mirage, the lake bed where we usually land speed
Hmm.
race, has just been trashed. But it's what we do as a family, and I really, even though I'm busy going fast, I'm in a racing club, I'm rocking all that stuff. It's what I did with my dad and my son, and now I just do it with my son. And it costs me several thousands a year, but I reckon it'd be no different than if we had, X amount of quads and a big camper and went out to Glamis or something crazy like that, like a lot of I know people do here in Southern California. So, whatever it takes, and we all come from different walks of life as well. Whether it's different things we're dealing with in life, and I go through a lot of it, in my book and stuff I do get to deal with as a middle-aged man, with children and everything adds up. So I'm glad you and I can agree and share on that. Yes,
Yeah. Well, and I
motorcycles
mentioned
can absolutely save you.
yeah, and I mentioned earlier how having Sophia, my daughter, was really that kick in the pants to move forward with this event, which at the time
Right.
is entirely counterintuitive. Like, oh, we're dealing with a newborn. This is when I should plan a motorcycle event. And surprisingly, my wife was like, "Go for it,"
Start them young.
like we're not busy
Right.
enough, but whatever. But that was the
Right.
impetus was, we were starting to grow this little community of people, and I wanted to grow that bigger and stronger because I knew what it could be for her growing up in it. Here we are 4 years later, and after a couple years of the run, we started doing moto family dinners. So once a month, we open the doors up to our house. I make a bunch of spaghetti, and everybody in and around interested in the motorcycle community is open. It's an open invite to all of them, and we just hang out. And sure, there's a lot of talk about bikes, and sometimes there's not that much talk about bikes, but it's that one, common thread that brings us all together is riding. And so she is growing up in a much bigger family than just the two of us out
Hmm.
here. And,
Takes a
she
village.
comes down to the garage when I'm working on, doing maintenance on the Harley or working on the 650 project. And, she likes being down in the garage. So as she gets older, I give her more tasks, turning a wrench and whatever, and it's just how I want her to grow up. I want her to grow up in it and hopefully find some joy in it and a love for it. But if
Oh
not, it's not going
yeah.
to hurt. Like to grow up with
No, you're
like
right.
20 people who love her to death who would do anything for her. It's not a bad way to grow up
Right.
at all.
No, I completely agree. I'm raising my son in a very similar fashion. That kid can rip apart a carburetor faster than he can assemble some Legos. I mean, he just rocks it, and he knows what to do. He's a crew chief of our race team, so he's got a list and he writes it all down, and he knows this has to happen and that has to happen, which is pretty funny. I know the way land speed racing works. I like to compare it to trying to launch a boat. You're all waiting in line to go. And when we get X amount, when we get like 60 feet from the starting line, he's not allowed to put his foot on the ground because he's under 16. So he ends up like climbing all over my excursion, in and out of it, every direction to get stuff, to make stuff happen, whatever it may be. And, I'm only on course for a few minutes, but then after that, we're ripping back into the bike, whatever it may be. And so I think if nothing else, it gives them great ambition, want, desire, drive, and example on whether to have summer work when they're going to college or decide on a career path and something engineering related. They can look at something and go, well, I know how this works because I've seen it taken apart. And I reckon a car is not very different, or a building's not very different, or all these things that are around us. It really comes down to relationship with stuff. And your daughter, similar to my son, is going to have great relationships with the stuff around them.
Yeah, and the
It's a
community
win-win.
too. Like she'll
Mm.
get to a point where she finally gets to come on the Orygun Run, but it's important for me that she grows up understanding that, you know, her uncles and her aunts are extremely responsible people who take care of business in life, even though they may be covered in tattoos and wear leather and
Right.
look a little different and you ride a different vehicle.
Dress
But
like pirates.
at the same time,
Right.
like, they party and they party hard, and that's okay. Like, I want her to know, like, having fun in life is a very important skill to learn. Like,
There
I
you
don't
go.
want her growing up thinking that she's going to be stuck in a cubicle for the rest of her life. You know what I mean? Like,
Amen.
I don't want to force her
sitting
into...
is the new smoking. Yeah.
Yeah, I want her to know that taking time for yourself, doing something that you truly love, truly enjoy, blowing off some steam, is totally perfectly acceptable and something to value, as long as you're a good, kind, stand-up person.
Very responsible.
And yeah, and I think she
that'll
lives
be a
that
hard
by
one.
example every day.
Oh, I completely agree. No, we're very lucky in the motorcycle communities, I think, to have our little niche of people. For me, it's more racing people, I think, than riding people locally. A lot of my friends are all over the country, so I'm glad to hear and know you got that nice little niche.
Yeah.
It's good though, but there's always phones too. I was talking to Curtis earlier today, Mr. Curtis Morgan, and I hadn't chatted with him, and I don't think I've talked to him since the Orygun Run.
Yeah.
Since we were, hanging out at his pad doing cool chopper shit. I think we were watching Bob Ross and playing with our computers. But regardless, it was good to chat with him, and he was, chasing the little one around at a bookstore. So so we just chatted for 2 or 3 minutes, caught up on some stuff, and went back at it. But it's great to know I got a friend in New York I can call, or in your case, a friend in Oregon, or wherever it may be.
Exactly. Yeah, and because of the run, I mean, Curtis, now being in New York, friend in New York, through him, one of his good friends who lives in Massachusetts, and friends now all up and down California, all through Washington, up into Vancouver, British Columbia. Every year,
Right.
that network of friends grows wider and wider across the country, and I look forward to those times when Sos is old enough to ride on the back of the bike long distances and take a cross-country trip where they're camping and stopping in on friends along the way, and
Amen.
her realizing that, she has secondary extended family everywhere.
Well, let's get your Instagrams and handles one more time so people can follow you and your .coms.
Yeah. So for Orygun Run, it's at Orygun Run, ORYGUNRUN. Orygun Run on Facebook, or OrygunRun.com for the website. Definitely follow the Instagram if you have any interest in going. Tickets do sell out fast, so be prepared for that Sunday
That's
at 10 a.m. For Run to the Rock, it's at Run to the Rock, or Run to the Rock on Facebook, and then runtotherock.com online. Tickets are still on sale for that one as well. It has the potential to be a much bigger event where we are allowed a lot more people because it's one location. We don't have to move you all. We don't have to limit it to such a small number. So, yeah.
What's the date on that?
So that's September 6th through September 8th in Lapine, Oregon. It's southern Oregon, so pretty easy ride from Northern California, a good ride from Washington, Idaho, Utah. So, yeah. So if you're listening and you want to come see a little bit of what we do, please come out to Run to the Rock and check us out. And, yeah, we'll give you the lowdown on Orygun Run in detail if you want it, and those are the Instagrams and .coms, as it were.
Adam, I appreciate you being on the said podcast here today and filling us full of information and good times. You really need to pat yourself on the back and be proud of yourself. You're doing good things.
Thank you. And we definitely have, after such a successful year 4, and looking forward to a spectacular year 5 and the new event and the future that this could hold for us in terms of doing events. So, and on that note, really quickly, I'd like to say to anybody listening, if you're sad or bummed or disappointed in there not being any cool events in your area, and you've been thinking maybe you're the person to start it up, if you're looking for some advice or some input or whatever, always feel free to email us, info@orygunrun.com. Jess and I are more than happy to lend what little bit of knowledge we've picked up over the last 4 years, a little guidance, or even just a word of encouragement, because it doesn't have to be as involved as what we do, but if people aren't starting events, there aren't going to be any new events. So it's just something we've always
that's a good one, man.
wanted to put out there.
I get to hang out with other writers, other podcasters, other racers, other, chop builders, rebuilders, as I like to say, whatever it may be. No, it's always important to do good philanthropy work and pass it on. Well, Adam, I very much appreciate you. Have a good evening, sir.
I very much appreciate you too, Mr. Bob Marshall.
Glad you enjoyed today's podcast. The book, American Roadrunner, can be found on the website at AmericanRoadrunnerthebook.com. Also on Amazon, search American Roadrunner by Bob Marshall. And of course, available in most digital formats. Find it on eBay and at ChopCult at the online store, chopcult.com. Find us on Instagram, American Roadrunner, all one word. Keep up with us on Facebook, American Roadrunner. This has been your host, Bob Marshall, fellow wrencher, rider, adventure seeker, racer, storyteller, and author of the book American Roadrunner. Music is brought to you by Meek. Their song, Here We Are, off their album Red Sprite Lightning, Meek. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and enjoy your road.